Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So I don't know what order you guys are going to be seeing these videos in because I'm doing my recordings for these videos all in the same day, so hi! And I've either said this before or haven't yet, but I have a cold, don't mind how I sound. It is also raining outside, so you might also hear rain. I love the New Zealand winter, it rains all the time. But hi, hello! If you do not know who I am, my name is Jax, and I am your local and avid Transformers fan and connoisseur. Of which in this series, the ABCs of Transformers, whether you have been here or have not been here before, is a series where I go over the many different types of vocabulary and terminology used throughout the Transformers franchise, both in canon and fanon, acting as a perfect stepping stone for casual fans or beginners of the Transformers series who would like to get further into the fan base, continuities, cartoons, etc. Of which you can check out every other video I've made so far in the playlist listed here. And I also have some really big news, guys, because I finally actually sat down and finished the entire Google document master list for this series. So every term and definition is now finished, and it is free and ready to view at your leisure and convenience down in the description below. It will also be listed in the description of every other video that I have posted up until this point, as well as in all future videos. But thank you all so much for your patience and your support of this series. It has meant so much, especially since this has just been a giant labor of love for one of my favorite things ever, and I truly appreciate that y'all have been supporting the heck out of this series, as well as those of you who have seen the document already have been pouring out your love and support for this. Thank you so much. It means so much to me, especially since I was doing this all in my free time, and again, as a labor of love. I am so happy that people are finding use out of this, and hopefully you are having fun and will have fun continuing to learn about Transformers. And while we are at it, because it's a good time to pop it in, y'all are not beholden to give me any sort of financial aid or assistance, but my Ko-fi is linked below if you would like to give me a tip or support my new coffee shop that I have up and running, where I have only like 1 or 2 items on right now, as well as some Mega Pride prints that I made for Pride Month a few months ago, the leftovers of which are up for grabs, as well as a little TFA Ratchet themed stationery set. I am planning to have more up in the future. I am waiting to get some Deltarune and Undertale Tumblr Sexy Men stickers in, so hopefully that will be up in the shop by the end of this month, or whenever this video comes out, I don't know. But anyways, what are we going over in today's video? Today's video, we are going over the places, things, and times in Transformers, which includes various locations, items, or vocabulary and terminology used to track time, used within Transformers fanon and canon. So without any further rambling, let's get right into it. So actually, I do have like one more thing to note before we get into it. For certain locations, such as locations on Cybertron, I do not have specific geographical locations listed for some of these places, as a majority of like city-states and cities and like colonies and everything on Cybertron or in the wider galaxy of Transformers don't really have specific locations as to how far they are from each other, where they are in relation to each other. There are some, like I think it's Iacon and Tarn on the TFWiki, who are stated as being like right next to each other, but otherwise we don't really have any idea where exactly that is, if these two are located at like the southern hemispheres of Cybertron, the northern, or what. If certain city-states are even on like the same continents, if Cybertron is just one giant supercontinent, I don't know. We don't really have a lot of specific information like that within the franchise. It's all quite vague as far as specifics like that. More so what these definitions are going to be is just describing what these places are like. I don't think I give a lot of specifics as far as geographical locations or astronomical locations, depending on if we're talking about like a planet or a moon, because it is so very varied and up to continuity, and it also changes literally all the time, and nobody has specifics, and nobody's gonna bother mapping it all out because that would be way too much work, and you would have to know way too much about the series. You would literally have to know everything in order to map out Cybertron to some plausible degree. So I hope you are all okay with that, please forgive me. But now, without any further ado, let's get to our first term, the Ark/Omega Supreme. The Ark is the Autobot ship and their base of operations. It can also transform into the Titan-class transformer Omega Supreme. Birth/recharge slab. A berth or a recharge slab is very simple. It is basically a bed. Specifically, a berth in certain continuities can act more like a sort of charging station. These are the things that Transformers use to rest, sleep on, and or recharge, very similarly to how a phone can recharge on a battery charging pad, and are usually these giant slabs of metal, though in some Transformers fanon and fanworks, you do see berths with the more traditional form of bedding, which includes blankets and pillows. And if you're confused about what the heck recharge means, you can check it out here in the anatomy and biology video for this series. Highly recommend viewing all the other videos in this series because it is extremely important for context. Caminus. Caminus is a colony world far off from Cybertron, home to the Camions. Chit or credit chit. A chit or credit chit is a form of intergalactic currency, basically money. A chit or credit chit can come in many different forms. It is usually very much left up to fan interpretation, which can include things like gold coins, or even something resembling a credit card. The core. The core is the very center of Cybertron, an extremely sacred place that is not only the source of Cybertronians' energon resources, but also the home to Vector Sigma, the computer that allows Primus to literally talk to his own creations. Datapad. A datapad is a sort of electronic tablet that is used to hold and record information. These are most often used for things like paperwork, field reports, filing, but can also be used to record things like audio and video, as well as send and receive text, audio, and visual messages. They are extremely similar to what our own phones and tablets are today. Dross. Dross is a type of recreational drug used by Cybertronians. It is similar to that of weed, able to give Transformers a sort of high, and is made from the impurities of oxidized metals. While this drug is most often smoked, it can also come in edible form. NGEX or high grade. NGEX or high grade is basically the Transformers version of alcohol. It is a highly charged form of energon that, when consumed, can cause symptoms similar to human intoxication. The Enigma of Combination. The Enigma of Combination is a Cybertronian artifact that allows Transformers to combine with other Transformers, leading to the creation of combiner mecha and larger combiners. It can also enhance a combiner's ability, giving them new powers and components. Garrus 9. Garrus 9 is the highest maximum security prison in Transformers. Located off-world on the planet Elba, by the way, which is located in the Milky Way system, which is our system, which is really cool, guys. It houses some of the worst criminals in Cybertronian history, including the likes of Overlord and Shockwave. Thanks for sending those guys over to our frickin' galaxy. Thanks, Cybertron. The Hall of Records. The Hall of Records, as the name implies, is basically one giant storehouse recording all of Transformers and Cybertronian history and culture. Basically a giant library / museum / archive. Located in Iacon, this was Orion Pax's original place of work before he was dubbed Optimus Prime in certain continuities, as well as home base to Alpha Trion, again in certain continuities. Hotspot. Primarily an IDW concept. A hotspot is a field of sparks, getting its name from the amount of heat generated from the many sparks within the field. These hotspots are created when energy waves are sent from Vector Sigma. These sparks are then either used to cold construct or forge a new Transformer. Iacon. Iacon is the largest city-state on Cybertron, most well known for being the home base to Orion Pax, Optimus Prime, and the Autobots. Junkion. Junkion is a planet made entirely of trash from around the universe, home to none other than the Junkions, including Wreck-Gar. Kaon. Kaon is known as one of the least fortunate and roughest city-states on Cybertron, depending on continuity, hailed either as the industrial capital of Cybertron or home to the gladiatorial rings. Lost Light. The Lost Light is a city-sized spaceship owned by Rodimus Prime and Drift, and is the primary location / ship featured in the More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light comics. Luna 1. Luna 1 is the first moon of Cybertron. McAdams / McAdams Old Oil House. McAdams is one of the most popular bars on Cybertron and in the Transformers franchise, run by none other than McAdam himself. Medbay. A med bay or medical bay is a type of medical area that is used to treat sick or injured mecha. They're sort of similar to like a first aid center, though much more advanced, often housing things like surgical equipment, recharge slabs, many various mysterious vials of random liquids, and other medical and technological equipment. The Nemesis / Trypticon. The Nemesis is the home base and ship of the Decepticons. Oh, I forgot the word Decepticons. Oh! The Nemesis is the home base and ship for the Decepticons, of which it can also turn into the Titan-class transformer, Trypticon. The pits, or the arena, aka the gladiatorial rings. The pits were arenas set up for gladiatorial combat on Cybertron. Now, it's a little difficult to give exact locations for the pits, as that is highly dependent on continuity. In certain continuities, like in the Aligned continuity, the home of the pits or pit fighting is Kaon, though there are pits that appear around Cybertron, not just in Kaon. Very often in many fan interpretations as well, Kaon is still held as the home of the pits / pit fighting. Shanix. Shanix, very similar to a chit or credit chit, is another version of intergalactic currency. This piece of currency more specifically coming in the form of a golden coin. While Shanix, I believe, is more of a canonical term, credit chit and chit are, I think, more of a fanon term. I'm a little unsure on that. But both Shanix, chit, and credit chit can all be used interchangeably. They will mean the same thing at the end of the day. Space bridge. A space bridge, as the name implies, is a bridge between spaces, usually extremely far off spaces, from as far as the Earth to Cybertron. Space bridges are used by both Autobot and Decepticon alike, and are often used not only to transport themselves, but things like resources like energon and weapons. Using this form of transport can sometimes be referred to as transwarping. Spark flower. A spark flower is a type of flower made from a piece of a Cybertronian spark who has passed away. These flowers are used as a way to honor and remember the dead, appearing most titularly in the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye comics, and very, very often make appearances in many different pieces of Transformers fan works. It's like the spark flower has become such a gigantic freaking like symbolic thing for like literally a majority of people in the fan base. Stasis cuffs. Stasis cuffs are a type of handcuffs, using electromagnetic waves and pulses in order to restrain and/or paralyze a Cybertronian. Due to their electromagnetic nature, they can also be magnetized to certain metallic surfaces, even like chairs, tables, walls, etc. Swerves. Swerves is one of the most popular bars in the Transformers franchise and the go-to bar on the ship The Lost Light, owned by none other than the man himself, Swerve. Tarn. Not only the name of a character, but a location on Cybertron as well. It is the second largest city-state on Cybertron, and in many continuities, is the original home of none other than the mighty Megatron. Teletran 1. Teletran 1 is the highly intelligent Autobot supercomputer, often used to thwart and outsmart any Decepticon hijinks. Unspace. Unspace is an in-between void between time and space, made up of nothing. This is the space that is used when transwarping or using a space bridge, as well as the space used for subspacing or subspaces on a transformer. Vector Sigma. Vector Sigma is the giant supercomputer housed in the core of Cybertron. Vector Sigma has all knowledge as well as history of Cybertronian life and culture from the day that Primus created Cybertron and the Cybertronians, and depending on continuity can even create sparks, as well as allows access to the Transformers afterlife, something that Transformers actually canonically have. It's crazy. Velocitron. Velocitron is a colony world similar to Caminus, known as the Speed Planet. Velocitron is most well known for its high-speed racing competitions and inhabitants, and is home to one of the fastest Transformers alive, Blur. Wash Rack. A wash rack is basically a shower or bathroom, the place that Cybertronians go and use in order to clean themselves, where instead of using things like water, seeing as how they're techno-organic, they often use replacements for that such as solvents and oil. The Well of Allsparks. In continuities like the Aligned continuity, the Well of Allsparks is where all Cybertronian life originates from, housing the Cybertronian artifact the Allspark within its depths, This is where sparks are also created, again, in certain continuities. Next up, we have our times, and I know this is kind of organized a little weirdly. It's not organized exactly how it is within the document. I just thought this would be the most convenient place to put the rest of my times here, because there's only like 5 or 6 terms for this. We would not be here for that long. That would not be a very long video, and I don't want to do that. Now, again, if you have not watched my general vocab video in this series, I will reiterate that when it comes to terminology dealing with time in Transformers, measurements of time, it is extremely highly dependent on many different factors. Because even within Transformers canon, how certain words used to measure time are used is either highly dependent on context, continuity. Every single use that we have of something like even cycle is used in completely different contexts, and cycle can be used to mean many different measurements of time and lengths of time. It's all really confusing. TFWiki has like a whole page going over like what certain words could possibly mean, and while we do have, I think, 1 or 2 things where it's like, this is probably for sure what it means, but even then it's only like confirmed by like one creative in the field, and even then it might be a little confusing because in another context they also said that it means this. It's all really confusing. And again, even within fanon, it is highly contextual and up to each individual person's interpretation as to what these words mean. So what I've done with times and how I've defined them here for this series and this list is that I'm just giving my best vague explanation as to what these words can stand for depending on context and the many different forms that I have seen these words take as far as their meanings. I hope that any of that made sense. I have no clue. Times are very wibbly wobbly in Transformers measurements of time. No one really knows. I don't even really know, and I'm the one trying to define them. And again, I will state, like I did in my general vocab video, the measurements of time is not like a set rule. You do not have to worry about it. It is not something you have to absolutely rack your freaking brain for, because everyone uses these words differently, even within canon. So if you are writing something like a fan fiction and you don't really know the difference between a cycle and a stellar cycle, it's okay. You can just use whichever. No one's gonna get on you about it unless they're like extremely persnickety, which they shouldn't be anyways, because again, it's so very highly dependent on interpretation and context. So just put that anxiety out of your mind and don't worry about it. Have fun. It's Transformers. It's goofy as hell. Nothing matters. So with that note out of the way, let's get into cycle. So a cycle can represent a length of time from anywhere as little as an hour from up to a year. And it can be used fairly interchangeably between any of those, whether you're meaning to like reference a cycle at like it's just a month, or it's just a year, or it's just like 2 hours of somebody's life, 2 cycles. Doesn't really matter. Again, context dependent. Stellar cycle or megacycle. A stellar cycle or a megacycle is often a lengthier period of time than a cycle. This can be anywhere from as little as a year to as long as a centennial and or longer. The Golden Age. The Golden Age was a time on Cybertron where things were considered to be utopic, when resources were plentiful and the people of Cybertron were supposedly at peace with one another. Though, depending on continuity, this isn't always necessarily the case. And again, depending on continuity, the Golden Age usually takes place post the Quintesson War and the Cybertronians freeing themselves from the Quintessons. This Golden Age usually always coming to an end once the Autobot and Decepticon War begins. Speaking of, the Great War / the Cybertronian Civil War. The Great War, also referred sometimes as the Cybertronian Civil War, is the titular war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. The one that everybody knows spans for some odd many hundreds, thousands, and or millions of years, and destroys not only Cybertronians, but their home planet and many other planets in some continuities as well. Click. A click is often used to refer to a short period of time anywhere from between a minute or a second. A click can also be used to measure a length of distance, such as saying that the shop is 5 clicks south. Nanoclick or nanosec. A nanoclick or nanosec is often a shorter length of time than a click, usually anywhere from between a second or less. Orn/Vorn. Orn/Vorn is used to refer to a lengthy period of time. This can be from anywhere from an hour or longer. The specific length of time used for this term is really wibbly wobbly, I think, even in canon and fanon. I believe this is an older canon word ranging back to like G1, so it's not used as much today, even in like Transformers fan fiction, but you can kind of use it similarly to how you would use the word cycle and or stellar cycle. But that is all of the terms for today's video. Once again, I hope you all have enjoyed this. I hope you all have enjoyed learning about my favorite series in the world. And again, if I missed anything glaringly obvious, please put it in the comments and I will be sure to add it into the Google document master list. As well as, again, if I really screwed up a definition or term, absolutely let me know as well, also in the comments. This has not just been an individual effort. This has very much been a community effort. I have gotten the support not only of my own friends, but also you lovelies and other mutuals of mine and people within the fan base. Again, thank you all so much for the support and love on this series. I truly have enjoyed making this and just getting to babble about one of my favorite things and the thing I know most about. So if you liked this video and or this content, make sure to leave a like down below and or subscribe to my channel for more Transformers and nerdy content. Now, I hope you are having a good day, and remember, if not, I am sending you spoons. Till all are one, and peace through tyranny. Bye!